Okay, good evening, everyone. Council just met in closed session. I now look to the Deputy Clerk to provide a report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Council met in closed session and received information and provided confidential staff direction on a potential disposition of land matter. And additionally, a procedural vote was taken to adopt previous closed session minutes. Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'll ask everyone to please stand for the national anthem. We would like to begin this meeting by acknowledging the land on which we gather as the traditional territory of the Anishinaabes and the Haudenosaunee peoples, acknowledging the One Bowl and Spoon Treaty. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest tonight? Okay. Please note that these meeting proceedings are being broadcast live, recorded, and made available through the Township website and youtube.com. Our next regular meeting of council is Tuesday, September 10th at 6:30 p.m. The corporate services at Niagara Region is tomorrow morning at 9:30. Are there any announcements or remarks from the members of council? Seeing none. Okay, going to move into the adoption of the previous council minutes. Are there any comments, corrections for the draft minutes listed on the agenda this evening? Okay, none. I have a motion that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held June 11th, 2024 be adopted as circulated. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councillor Wainfleet, Councillor McClellan. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, so we have one public meeting this evening. In accordance with the Planning Act, a public meeting is held to present information regarding the proposed amendment to the public and for council to receive comments from the public. Staff will not make a recommendation and council will not make a decision on the proposed amendment at this evening's public meeting. A planning report will be brought forward by staff and considered by council at a later date. As a member of the public, you are welcome to request to be notified of any future meetings respecting the proposed amendment. Please provide your contact information on the sign-in sheet located at the back of council chambers. Please be advised that the sign-in information will form part of the public record for this application. I will now ask the planner to provide details on the purpose of the proposed amendment and any written comments received.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to all of council. So the subject lands are located on the east side of Putman Road between Wilford Road and Highway 3 and are known municipally as 52877 Putman Road. So the subject lands are approximately 872 square meters in area and currently contains a single detached dwelling and a partially constructed accessory building, being a detached garage. So the subject lands are designated as prime agricultural area in the Niagara official plan, and then designated as agricultural area in the township's official plan and zoned agricultural A2. So the application proposes to rezone the subject lands from its current agricultural A2 zone to a site-specific agricultural A2-80 zone to permit the completion of the detached garage with the following structure requirements. So a maximum overall lot coverage of 18.1%, a maximum accessory building lot coverage of 6.1%, and a minimum accessory building interior side yard setback of 0.97 meters. So the applicant has submitted a site plan showing the location of the partially constructed garage, which is in the southeast corner of the subject property, as shown on the screen. So in terms of some agency comments received, so the application was circulated in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, and notification was mailed to the property owners within 120 meters of the subject land. So the following comments were received from both township departments as well as external agencies. So the drainage superintendent noted that the property is assessed to the Beezer drain, but that due to the nature of the application, there were no concerns or comments. Enbridge Gas noted no objection, but that they reserve their right to amend any or remove any development conditions. The Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority noted no objection, and that MPCA work permit would be required prior to any further work on the garage. Niagara Region noted no objection, as the proposal is consistent with the provincial policy statement and conforms to provincial and regional policies. The township chief building official noted that as part of the building permit application, that the site plan will need to confirm the clearance between the septic bed and the garage, that no windows are permitted in the right elevation, and that an engineer will have to sign off on the concrete work completed without inspection. There's still a few pending agency comments, which will be addressed in the future staff report.
Thank you. Does the applicant wish to provide any comments regarding their application? Nope. Okay. Does any member of council have any questions or comments regarding this proposed amendment? Seeing none? Okay. Is there anyone in the gallery that wishes to provide comment on the proposed amendment? Seeing none? Okay, seeing no further comments, I will now ask the planner to review the next steps.
Thank you. So a planning report regarding a complete review of the application will be brought forward and considered by council at a later date. I just have one note regarding appeal rights. Recent changes to the Planning Act restrict third-party appeals, and as such, only the applicant, specified person, public body, registered property owner, or the minister may appeal the decision of council to the Ontario Land Tribunal, provided they submitted comments prior to a decision being made.
Thank you. So that concludes the public meeting for the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. If you wish to be notified of the decision of council regarding the proposed application, you must make a written request to the deputy clerk of the township. So moving into delegations, we have one delegation this evening. Kelly Elliott is joining us from the Association of Ontario Road Supervisors to present the Marvin D. Halliday Award to our Drainage Superintendent, Mr. Mark Jamieson. Ms. Elliott, you have 10 minutes to make your presentation.
Perfect, thank you. My name is Kelly Elliott. I'm the Marketing and Communications Specialist with the Association of Ontario Road Supervisors, and I'm pleased to be joined with our current president, Joe Reid, who would also like to say a few words. Hey. Joe, sorry, I don't know what side you went on. Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor Grant and all of council. I'm Joe Reid. I'm the Director of Transportation Operations Services with the City of Belleville and a proud president of the Association of Ontario Road Supervisors. The Association of Ontario Road Supervisors is a provincial association of public works professionals dedicated to providing high-quality public services through certification, education programs, and interaction amongst its members. Wainfleet, the Township of Wainfleet, is a part of the local association called Niagara Region Road Supervisors, which is becoming a very vibrant association. Marvin D. Halliday was a road supervisor in East Agarfoxa Township and a longtime AORS member, serving as Dufferin-Caledon Road Supervisors Association representative on the board of directors. Marvin believed in a value of comprehensive training, continuous education, and credentialing system in Ontario Public Works staff. He was a dedicated municipal employee who volunteered his personal time to AORS, including on the Education Committee as chair and the Certification Board. His commitment to professionalism helped AORS achieve its corporate strategic goals, vision, and mission to support and promote our local associations and public works industry across the province. The Marvin D. Halliday Memorial Education Award is presented each year to one individual who completes the Public Works Leadership Development Program with the highest overall average. The recipient is chosen from a group of his peers who are continuing their public works training and professional development and therefore contributing to the growth within their respective organizations, their municipalities, their communities they serve. This is the highest education award given by AORS annually. This year's recipient averaged 98% across all of the courses, 98%. As president of the Association of Ontario Road Supervisors, coming 3 hours today to come here and present this, just so you know, I'm happy to be here too. I'm proud to announce and award Mark Jameson, Drainage Superintendent for the Township of Wainfleet, this prestigious award. Congratulations.
You want to do a picture?
Yeah, maybe with the mayor as well.
Okay.
Are we able to come up there, or
Here, do you want to take
do you mind if we come through there? Thank you.
Well, congratulations, Mr. Jemison. All right. Yeah, is there any member of council that wishes to comment on Mr. Jameson's award here? Councilor Gilmore, go ahead.
I'm just curious, what question did you get wrong? Okay.
Anyone else? No? Again, congratulations. All right, we're going to move into our consent agenda. We have 3 items listed on the consent agenda this evening. Those items are administrative memorandum respecting our new website, DSR 003/2024 respecting the request for drain improvement, the Aldry drain, and DSR 004/2024 respecting the request for drain improvement on the Perry Road drain. Are there any items that council wishes to be removed from the consent agenda for discussion? Seeing none? Okay, I have a motion that the following items be received and the recommendations contained therein be approved and acted upon. Administrative memorandum respecting the new website, the DSR 003/2024 respecting the request for drain improvement, the Aldry drain, DSR 004/2024 respecting the request for drain improvement, Perry Road drain. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councilor McCullen, Councilor Van Fleet, any other discussion? It's an easy one tonight. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, we're going to move into staff reports and recommendations. Community and Development Services staff reports. CDS 002/2024 respecting the official plan amendment file number OPA 04 zoning bylaw amendment file number Z04/2022W Law Quarry Expansion Waterford Sand and Gravel Limited Agent MHBC Planning Limited. Mr. Earl, could you please provide a brief overview of your report?
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor, and to the rest of the council. The purpose of this report is to provide a detailed planning analysis and to provide council with a recommendation regarding the applications submitted by MHBC Planning Limited on behalf of Waterford Sand and Gravel Limited for the proposed official plan and zoning bylaw amendments to facilitate the expansion of the existing law quarry. In addition to the local OPA and ZBA, the applicant has also submitted a complete application for a regional official plan amendment and a Category 2 below water quarry Class A license to the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry under the Aggregate Resources Act. The ARA application includes a separate public consultation and notification process. The subject lands are legally described as parts of Lot 6 and 7, Concession 2, and part of road allowance between 5 and 6 and Concession 2, located north of Highway 3 between Grable Road and Biederman Road, as shown here. The lands are predominantly in current agricultural condition. The total area to be licensed is 72.3 hectares, with 51.2 hectares proposed to be extracted. The remaining lands are not subject to extraction that have been included, but within the license boundary to ensure applicable environmental and archaeological conditions and mitigation measures to be maintained. The application for the official plan amendment proposes to change the designation of the subject lands from rural area, possible extractive industrial, and environmental protection area to extractive industrial. The application for the zoning bylaw amendment proposes to change the zoning of the subject lands from rural A4 with an environmental protection overlay to a site-specific extractive industrial M2-2 to permit a quarry, including processing and related plant and operational facilities, for the crushing, screening, and washing of aggregate material and aggregate stockpiling, and outside storage of goods and materials which were such uses ancillary and incidental to a permitted aggregate operation otherwise permitted. Regarding the pit operations, the proposal includes 5 sequential extraction phases. It includes acoustical screening berms, localized shielding and equipment restrictions to mitigate noise. Setbacks and buffers are included from the environmental features, with all significant natural heritage features avoided and protected, including the Wainfleet Bog, provincially significant wetland to the north. Long-term avoidance and protection of the archaeological sites, which resulted in islands to ensure all significant cultural heritage features are conserved. The quarry estimates the lifespan of this expansion will be approximately 38 years, and that depends on market demand. And they have confirmed that there will be no change in the current annual tonnage, hours of operation, trucking, or site operations. The final rehabilitation of the Law Quarry expansion will be a lake with several islands created by quarrying around the archaeological areas. Shallow areas, vertical faces, and fisheries habitat will be created in the north end of the quarry to promote habitat linkage with the Wainfleet Bog, with planting and seeding of native species to create forest and grassland ecological communities. In order to coordinate the technical review of the applications, a joint agency review team, JART, was formed. The JART is a team of planning staff from the region, the township, the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority. The JART report, attached as Appendix C to my report, has been prepared by the JART's aggregate advisor, Melanie Horton of Escher Planning Incorporated, in consultation with the JART members. The report summarizes the background work, analysis, and findings of the JART's review of the applications and associated materials. In support of the applications, the applicant has provided numerous technical studies and reports which have all been publicly available on the quarries, regions, and townships' websites. The region, on behalf of the JART, has retained several third-party peer reviewers to assist with the review of many of the technical studies. In addition, the ARA site plans have been reviewed by the JART through the application process. If approved, the ARA site plans are the primary tool used by the province to enforce the conditions and other aspects of the quarry's ongoing operations. A fulsome consultation review included a statutory public meeting for the ROPA that was held by the region on February 7th of this year, with a statutory meeting for the local OP and zoning amendments held on February 20th here at the township. No members of the public spoke at the public meeting. All applicable internal departments and agencies have been involved throughout the JART's review of the application. This recommendation report follows an extensive review process across multiple disciplines, following the review of all applicable materials submitted for the application, along with the conclusions made by the JART, and applicable peer reviews. Planning staff confirmed that all matters on this application have been sufficiently addressed. Planning staff conclude that the proposed official plan and zoning bylaw amendments are consistent with the provincial policy statement, conforms to the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, the 2014 Regional Official Plan, the Township of Wainfleet Official Plan, and comply with the provisions of the Township of Wainfleet zoning bylaw. The proposal represents good planning, and planning staff recommend that council approve the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment applications with the implementing bylaws included on tonight's agenda as bylaw numbers 030-2024 and 031-2024 respectively. Should council adopt the official plan amendment, the file will be forwarded to Niagara Regional Council for final approval and implementation. Please note that the applicant, their planning consultant, and representatives from the region are in attendance this evening to assist in answering any questions council may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Earl. So I have a motion that the Community and Development Services Report CDS 002-2024 be received and that the official plan amendment attached as Appendix A of CDS 002-2024 be adopted and that council direct staff to circulate a copy of CDS 002-2024 to the Niagara region advising of its adoption of the official plan amendment 04 and that the Township Council requests that the Niagara Region Council approve official plan amendment 04 for the Township of Wainfleet and that the zoning bylaw amendment attached as Appendix B of CDS 002-2024 be approved and that the applications be deemed to be consistent with the Provincial Policy Statement 2020 and other matters of provincial interest. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councilor McClellan? Councilor Gilmore? Any discussion? Seeing none? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, we're going to move on to PSR 006-2024, respecting the removal of holding H symbol, file number Z08-2014W, 11705 Lakeshore Road, Wainfleet. Ms. Ivins, could you please provide a brief overview of your report?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to all of council. So the current zoning for the subject property has a holding symbol that can be removed upon the completion of several items. Through the previous consideration of the draft and final approval of the plan of condominium application and the approval of the zoning bylaw amendment, the removal of the holding symbol was deferred as item A, being the municipal responsibility agreement with Niagara Region and a condominium agreement with the township had not been completed at that time. Since then, both of those agreements have been executed and registered on title to the subject property. As such, I'm recommending that the holding symbol be removed and the implementing bylaw is on this evening's council agenda as bylaw number 031-2024.
Thank you. So I have a motion that planning staff report PSR 006-2024 be received and that the council adopt the amending bylaw to remove the holding H symbol for the development of lands described as Concession 1, Part Lots 16 and 17, RP 59R 15051, Part 1, and known municipally as 11705 Lakeshore Road in the Township of Wainfleet, attached as Appendix B. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councilor McClellan? Councilor Gilmore? Any discussion? Seeing none? Call a question. All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, we're going to move into administrative staff reports. ASR 010-2024, respecting the municipal drainage billing. Mr. Hart, could you please provide a brief overview of your report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you is Administrative Report 1024, being the 2024 Municipal Drainage Billing Report. The purpose of this report is to update and inform councils and landowners of the upcoming drainage bills and the various updates that staff plan to implement to ensure that drainage bills are sent out as timely as possible. It is important to note that due to the nature of this process, it is not uncommon for municipalities to be years behind on drainage billing, as the time period between updating and creating an engineer's report to billing the landowners can be a lengthy process. An example of this process can be that years 1 to 3 include budgeting for and appointing an engineer to complete an update / create an engineer's report for a drain. Once completed, the budget for the maintenance and construction must be approved, and then the procurement process started to select a vendor to complete the project. The vendor may begin the project depending on the season and schedule, and once the project is complete and the total costs are known to the township, we can then apply for the OMAFRA grant for for the engineer costs and the maintenance and construction costs. From that point, up to 2 years can be required to obtain approval and receive the grant funds, putting the process into year 5. Drainage billing can then only typically be done after final tax billings and prior to interim taxes due to software limitations. Therefore, ideally in Q3/early Q4, the drainage billing would take place. However, the township may have to wait an additional year to complete this, depending on when the grant was received or if the drain maintenance spans multiple years. The current amount approximately recoverable is $1.35 million, with $250,000 of this being from grants from OMAFRA, and the remaining $1.1 million to be billed to landowners. These amounts may change slightly due to assessment schedules and engineer reports that are currently being updated, and therefore costs for these projects will not be billed out until the reports are complete. The recommendation staff are recommending to improve this process is to establish internal process and document timelines surrounding the drainage process, assessing and billing out drainage costs with estimates of grant funding received from MAFRA, and once the grant has been received, reconciling any differences at that time. The amounts from OMAFRA generally don't change by too much, so if there is the potential that a rebill will have to occur, but this is outweighed by reducing the timeline as much as 2 years. The final step is to enhance the communication strategies with landowners regarding upcoming the drainage bills and the various drainage projects ongoing. Due to the large expected expenses for drainage in the near future that we will be experiencing, staff are recommending that upon recognition of this recoverable, that the funds be transferred into the drainage reserve. This can be further outlined in the 2024 year-end report. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. So I have a motion that the report ASR 010-2024 regarding the 2024 municipal drainage billing report be received for information, and that council directs staff to proceed with the drainage process updates and drainage billing, and that the funds recovered are transferred into the drainage reserves, which will be outlined in the 2024 year-end report. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councilor McCullen, Councilor Gilmore, any discussion? Councilor Gilmore, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks, Cameron, for clarifying what I read in the executive summary. If you were just to read that without the backstory, you would assume that because of staff changes here and the pandemic, which was an excuse to do nothing for 2 years, and funding delays, we just didn't bill anybody for 7 years, which is really not accurate to some extent. So it's just a comment that it's good to have the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say. Thank you.
Any other comment? Councilor Anderson, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor, just to be clear, have we requested or have we received the funds from OMAFRA, the grants funds? Or are we still in that process?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor. We've received OMAFRA grants for some of the maintenance and construction that's been completed over the last 7 years, and we are still applying for grants for the current year costs, and even like 2023 and 2022 costs for some costs for projects that are just becoming complete. But yes, $250,000 is still owed from OMAFRA once we finish applying for all the grants that we're eligible for these costs. Okay, no other further comments? Okay, then I'll call the quote. Oh, Councilor McCullen, I didn't see your hand there, sorry.
You, Mr. Mayor. So then, if I take this right, we're going to bill if you have $250,000 outstanding, we will bill what is owed by the people, and then we'll be still holding the bag till you get your $250,000. We're not going to bill the landowners and then afterwards reimburse them.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor, we will not, the process isn't to bill landowners for the amounts that we would receive grants. We always bill them net.
Yeah.
So we always assume that we're going to receive the grant and then we bill them net.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks.
No further comments? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Moving on to ASR 011-2024, respecting the 2024 Q2 projected results. Again, Mr. Hart, could you please provide a brief overview of your report?
Thank you. Before you, Council, is Administrative Report 11-2024, the Q2 results to date projected to year end. The purpose of this report is to update stakeholders on the financial results of the Township and to ensure that we remain track on our 2024 budget. The Township is currently projecting a surplus of $592,000, which is predominantly the result of the various items in the report. The Township is expecting a capital surplus of approximately $1.8 million, which is the result of Public Works Project Number 3, Reeves Bay Shore Wall Protection, due to this project being canceled because we did not receive the grant funds. So during our capital budget process, it was Council's direction, if we didn't receive the grant funds, not to continue with the project. It's important to note that this doesn't create like a levy surplus because we didn't levy for any of this amount because it was funded through grants and reserves. The only impact that this has is that we're using less reserve money in the current year, which is reflected in the reserve schedule of the report as well. That being said, our reserve and reserve funds are expected to be approximately $5.2 million. And it is also important to note that this amount does not include any of the projected surplus being transferred into reserves, and it does not include the drainage recoverable from the previous report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. So I have a motion that the Administrative Staff Report ASR 011-2024, respecting the 2024 Q2 projected results report, be received. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Van Fleet, Councillor McClellan. Any discussion? Councillor Van Fleet, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the report. Do we get notified why we don't get grants? Do they give you an explanation, or do they just say no?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor. So I believe Richard did receive an email just stating that we weren't successful in receiving the grant. They didn't really specify why. He may be able to further comment on it, but.
Oh, okay. I'll send him an email. Thanks.
Councillor McClellan, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, this is more of a general question, but I thought maybe it was last term that we engaged a consultant to help us write our requests. Oh, is that right, or?
Yeah, so through the mayor to all of council. So at one point we did retain a company to help write the grants, but they were taking a portion of the grants if we were successful. So since then, Cameron's been working with each department head. We have been successful in a number of grants since then. So it is a little bit more beneficial if we do have capacity in-house that we bring it in-house. But if there's anything specific, like when we were seeking the energy one for the solar panels, we utilized a consultant that was had more expertise in obtaining grants of that nature if we don't have the expertise in-house.
I was just curious. Thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. So Public Works Staff Reports, PWSR 010-2024, respecting the award of tender for parking lot resurfacing. Mr. Nan is unable to be here this evening to provide a brief overview of his report. In light of that, I have a motion that report PWSR 010-2024, John had to take off, respecting award of parking lot improvements tender be received, and that the manager of operations engage the services of Walker Construction Limited to complete the parking lot surfacing as outlined in the tender, and that the manager of operations engage the services of Urban Mark Limited to complete the line painting upon completion of the asphalt resurfacing. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Anderson and Councillor Gilmore, any discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. Okay, we're going to move into PWSR 011-2024, respecting traffic calming. In light of Mr. Nan's absence this evening, I'll ask the CAO to speak to this report.
Thank you. So through the mayor to all of council, in Richard's absence, I will briefly discuss the report before you. And staff can take any direction council may have, or ultimately defer the report until the next meeting if there are questions, technical in nature, that I'm not prepared to respond to. So with warmer weather upon us, both staff and council have received requests regarding stop signs or traffic calming measures as a tool to slow motorists on certain roadways throughout the township. Staff have performed preliminary studies, including inspections, traffic data collection, utilizing digital radar tools, as well as assessments of the roads in question. So the NRP performed enforcement on 2 different occasions on request of the township, and accident data was requested as well. NRP reported no major concerns and no tickets were issued on either occasion. The Ontario Traffic Manual states that the use of stop signs for speed control is not advisable, but rather a traffic calming alternative is more appropriate when trying to control speed. The accident data revealed 2 accidents in the past 3 years, and both were located at a controlled stop sign intersection where a failure to stop occurred, as well as additional charges under the Highway Traffic Act. So the recommendation contained in the report is to approve the proposed traffic calming policy, and additionally, council can direct staff to purchase additional, more permanent speed display signage. Alternatively, if any member of council has specific questions or comments regarding the policy or the report, we're happy to take staff direction and bring this back to the next regular meeting of council.
Any comments or questions from members of council regarding the, yeah, Councilor Gilmore, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to get a couple of those signs and put them up and test them out. The slow down tells you your speed signs. To me, like, at least for me, those things work. They work on me, so that's pretty good. But, so I'd like to get a couple of those and put them up, and then maybe expand that in the future. I have another question about traffic, sort of unrelated to this, but so just, we'll do that after.
Okay, so through the mayor to Councilor Gilmore and all of council, so we do have the 2 portable trailers that we utilize to collect initial data, which reported that 85% were going within the speed limit. We're actually going 40 kilometers in the posted 40 kilometer zone. So we do have the 2 mobile trailers, which we do deploy on request of residents when they outreach us with concerns about speeding in their area, just so we can collect data to see what it looks like. So one of 2 things is happening. A, either there is not speeding in the area, which probably is not likely if it's being reported, or B, that the signs are effective in altering driver behavior. So if we will need a motion if you want, we can also just defer the policy and council can make a staff direction or a motion for us to proceed with procuring more permanent signs if that's what you wish, because we likely wouldn't leave those portable ones in the same location for the entire summer.
No, if I can continue, I like the permanent solar ones that just stay up there, do their thing. I know they're a little expensive, but they do work, and we should put them up in these areas where people are. As far as the NRP data, it's bunk. Because unless they're there in a completely unmarked hidden car, then everybody slows down when they see a police car. So I don't buy that. And they only came twice, and it's far too random. So, but these other things, I think they do have some benefit. So let's put a couple up in this area for these people that, you know, made this request quite some time ago, and see what happens. And then maybe we'll put a few more up around other problem areas as we become aware of them. So that'd be. So I would move that we buy 2 of the. Well, it doesn't matter. Whatever size anybody wants. Anybody else can comment, but let's get a couple of them.
Councilor McClellan, go ahead.
For you, Mr. Mayor. I tend to agree with Councilor Gilmore on this. There's as much information in this traffic calming studies as there was on the quarry. And I think it was 200 and something pages of what you have to do. I think there's a lot of work for staff if you're going to go and set this up. I think the town's small enough, and we all know the area is big enough, well enough, that depending on the cost of these, and that was my question for Richard, was what do these things cost a piece? it might be something that we end up owning 5 or 6 of, and we put a few on Station Road, for argument's sake. It's a regional road, but just to throw a road out there, we put a few on Station Road, we leave them there for 2 months, we see that the things are going good. Now you move them over, and you move them over to Burnaby Road. And, you know, it might be a 2-month cycle, but if we've got 6 of them, we can be covering 3 roads at a time. And you're gonna train the people to slow down, is what we're doing, right? And, you know, I think we'd be better spent, the money would be better spent putting it out in the field than reading all this information. I'm sure we'd need staff to take care of it. You'd probably need a summer student to take care of this, or a full-time person. I really don't want to hire more people inside. I think the better move is to put our money outside if we can do that. So that would be my comments to it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I rather like the in-road flexible signs because they scare people. Like the one that's down by you. Because if I was a kid and driving up down Lakeshore like I did when I was a kid, I definitely would have slowed down for those.
So through the mayor to Councillor Van Vliet, those go one of 2 ways, and they can't be put on a road that's not wide enough to have them in the center, but you need enough space on each side to pass. And sometimes they are flexible, so you can drive over them. So sometimes it becomes a game whereby people try to hit them, and we have to then replace them. So they are not actually, or we have found that they're not actually as effective as the radar signs.
Yeah. And to that, it is outlined in Richard's report that the area between Lakeshore Road and Quarry Road is not wide enough to put those in for us right now as well. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Councilor McClellan, you want to keep going?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, one of the things is I did find a company that makes the radar on both sides, so it gets you in both directions. So instead of 2 units, it's 1 unit. You put up a pole on the side of the road, but one's catching you going north, the other one's catching you headed south or east-west. So that might be, we may get a better bang for our buck on something like that, and you'd have to put a pole in, because I don't think you can put them on hydro poles or that, but, so we buy some poles and put them there, then we can always go back and reuse them, right? And so that might be a way to look at it, right?
Yeah, so through the mayor to Councillor McClellan. So yeah, if the council motion is that we procure at least 2 of these signs for this year, and then we can bring them back, we can bring back some data during budget in the fall with how these worked during this time, with maybe a proposal for a couple of more, or at least some consideration within the budget. But if there is a deal to be found, Richard will find it, so he will explore all of the options available to us to ensure that it's the most effective and efficient for the township, as well as cost effective.
Councilor Anderson, go ahead.
I'd just like to suggest, I think that if we're trying to cue behavior, I think we should consider the largest sign possible. I think it's an 18-inch. People go, I mean, there's a million signs when you're driving around. I just think the bigger sign might have a bigger effect. And if we're going to phase in and buy them over a few years, possibly, if we find that they work, we could do that. But I think we should start with the largest size available.
To that comment, I think it was mentioned today, Mr. Jemison mentioned it actually to me, that the signs, these particular signs are the same signs that Haldeman uses right in front of Hippos. So perhaps we want to look at what that particular size is, because it seems to work there and it's very noticeable. So I'm not sure if it is the 18-inch ones or if it's a 15-inch one, but maybe we just want to have a look and see what they're. No, that's there.
So through the mayor to all of council, I don't have the data in front of me in terms of what the size is of the portable ones that we have, but I can attest based on the data that they appear to be effective, based on the fact that we haven't received any reports in any of the multiple locations that we've placed them that indicate that speed exceeds. I mean, there's a couple of outliers, 1 or 2 cars that do exceed by a significant amount, but generally speaking, in the 85th percentile, people are going less than 10% over the posted speed.
We need that. Councilor Gilmore, did you want to make them?
Okay, so you want a motion to purchase, we
Yeah.
sort of been bouncing the numbers around. Do you want to get a half a dozen?
Go with 2 this year.
Get 2, and then,
Get 2.
and then at budget time, we'll talk about maybe another 4, or who knows?
Yep.
All right, so we'll get 2 of the 18-inch and get them, and put at least 1 in this area of concern from the residents that prompted this whole thing in the first place. And they can be moved around because they're solar, so it's not
Yep.
a big deal. We just have to figure out how they have to be mounted. So Richard can do that. So we'll get 2 for now immediately. That'd be the motion.
Okay, so who wants to second the motion? Councilor McCullen? Any other further discussion on it? Seeing none. So I'll just read it out that we have a motion that council has provided direction to purchase 2 speed display signs for the current 2024 year. Okay. All right, I'll call a question. All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried.
So I
Councilor Gilmore, you
just
good?
want to, through you, Mayor, I just want a refresher on what's happening with the school and the highway and the crosswalk, like the school's going to open in September. What are we doing there at the highway? Like, there was a lot of talk about you can't do this, you can't do that because of the MTO, blah, 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 which I'm getting ready to push back on that pretty soon, because I think it's nonsense that there's not a crosswalk here. Every other urban center in the Niagara region has crosswalks here, there, and everywhere, and all kinds of crossings. And I'm, quite frankly, tired of the MTO lording over all of us and telling us what we can and can't do. I just spent 3 months trying to get a permit for a landowner to put a power line over the road that we own, not them. And it's ridiculous what they're putting people through. And so if we don't have any plans for a crosswalk out here, then I'd like to arrange a meeting with our MPP to push the agenda a little bit. And if that doesn't work, then I'm going to get Councilor Anderson to put Dougie on her speed dial, and we're going to get him down here. But this business with the MTO is, like, I guess because of what I just had to go through, I'm still a little worked up about it. But the fact that we can't have a crosswalk here and every other municipality in the Niagara region can have crosswalks and signs and radar signs, and we don't want those because people cut them down. But there's no reason for not having a crosswalk here. If we need sidewalks, we'll put them in. But I heard from someone the other day that the radius for getting busing to a school now has been increased from, it was don't quote me on the numbers, but I heard 1.3 or 1.6 to 2.4. So there's a lot of people on the other side now that used to walk to Amy Brown that now are going to have to come here, or a whole bunch of cars are going to have to drive their kids here every day for more than 6 months, 8 months. Also ridiculous. So and I'll go back to my initial comment. I need a refresher on where we're at, and I'm assuming that it's not going to be satisfactory, and then we'll move from there to trying to arrange something that is going to become satisfactory.
I'll turn it over to the CAO.
So through the mayor to Councilor Gilmore, I don't have updated information on that at this time. Richard was dealing with that. So unfortunately, I'll have to wait until he returns to get an update on that. But assuming that he didn't make any progress, we can start working in the background to try to set up a meeting with Sam.
Yeah, because now's the time to get them, because they're just out on the barbecue circuit. So he should be readily available. And we got to push, because it's going to be September before we know it. And yeah, so I'm assuming that nothing's happened. So I think that immediately we should arrange a meeting.
So through the mayor to Councilor Gilmore, I don't know if you're right or wrong in assuming that nothing's happened. Richard is always working in the background. So I will touch base with Richard upon his return, but in the meantime, we can set something up, because even if Richard has made progress, it won't hurt to have a meeting with Sam. Maybe we can just progress things a little bit further, or at least make our intent very clear.
Councilor McCullen, go ahead.
Well, I totally agree. I had to get them to help me with this issue between Hydro One and the MTO. I mean, we didn't even have to do anything to the road. Just get 2 police cruisers while they strung the wire. 3 months, and all they could do is complain about staff shortages and blah blah, a whole bunch of excuses why they couldn't just issue the permit. And finally, I said to Mr. Oosterhoff, I work for the guy, so that's why I use the royal we. We're going to put in a diesel generator to generate the power for the dryer if we don't get this done. And that's not going to be a good look. And yeah, things progressed. But the point is, you shouldn't have to go through all these things to get common sense problems resolved. And anybody that says that not having a crosswalk for a bunch of grade school kids across Highway 3 on this goofy corner where 29 things happen all at once is out of their mind. So I'm just not gonna sit back and let that happen or not happen.
Okay. We're going to move into a review of correspondence. We have one item of correspondence on the agenda for consideration this evening. I have a motion that the correspondence item C 2024-330, respecting a request for flag raising and to proclaim September Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, be received and supported. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Van Fleet, Councillor McCullen, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. Okay, I'm going to move into bylaws. So I have a motion that the following bylaws be read and passed this 9th day of July, 2024. Bylaw number 2824 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and deputy clerk to execute an agreement between the corporation of the Township of Wainfleet and the Association of Municipalities of Ontario for the transfer of the Canada Community Building Fund grant. Bylaw number 2924 being a bylaw to amend the corporation of the Township of Wainfleet zoning bylaw 34-2014 pursuant to section 36 of the Planning Act RSO 1990. Bylaw number 30-2024 being a bylaw to adopt amendment number 04 to the official plan for the Township of Wainfleet with respect to those lands forming part of lots 6 and 7, concession 2, and part of the road allowance between lots 5 and 6, concession 2, Township of Wainfleet, region of Niagara. Bylaw number 31-2024 being a bylaw pursuant to the provisions of section 34 of the Planning Act RSO 1990 to amend zoning bylaw number 34-2014 of the corporation of the Township of Wainfleet with respect to the lands municipally known legally described as part of lots 6 and 7, concession 2, and part of road allowances between lots 5 and 6, concession 2, in the Township of Wainfleet. Bylaw number 32-2024 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 18-2024 Bylaw number 18-2024 being a bylaw to establish the Fire Services Review Committee and establish the terms of reference. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor McCullen, Councillor Anderson, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. Are there any notices of motion this evening? Councillor McCullen, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a notice of motion that at the next council meeting that we direct staff to put in an inquiry to the school board for both William E. Brown and Winger School, that the town have first shot at it. Of the buildings that we can look at, I don't think the town wants to get in the rental business, but we could get somebody in here for some seniors housing and stuff like that that we have none of, and all our seniors have to leave town. So there's two good pieces of property that something could probably be done on. That's it.
Thanks, Councilor McClellan. Any other notes of motion? Seeing none. Okay, we have no further items for closed session this evening. So we're just going to move to the bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council. So I have a bylaw, that bylaw number 34, 2024, being a bylaw to adopt, ratify, and confirm the actions of the council at its meeting held on the 9th day of July, 2024, be read and passed this 9th day of July, 2024. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councilor Van Fleet, Councilor Anderson, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. So there being no further business, the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.